Hello there, Cassidy here, and welcome to In the Weeds. Usually I am joined by a friend or someone here on this segment, but today I'm by myself because I have some things I've been thinking through and some updates that I want to share with you guys. So I figured this is probably the best way to do it. So hope you don't mind hearing sort of what's been going on and letting me ramble about what I've been thinking about lately and hopefully give you some clarity on what's going to happen with me in the future, particularly with this channel. So I don't know if you can tell, but given my more robust figure, you might have guessed that I am preparing for the birth of my second child, which is a really beautiful thing. And in fact, by the time this comes out, she might already be out in the world with us. So I'm really kind of grateful for that. But I think with any sort of transition in life, it gives you a lot of things to think about and sort of how you're moving next. And I think that's particularly true with children. After my first birth, I was just so surprised by how naturally the motherhood part came. You just hear all these horror stories about postpartum and feeling lost or unconfident in that role that you're sort of thrown into without really knowing what you're ever getting yourself into. And I'm just really grateful that didn't happen for me. I genuinely had this sort of confidence and comfortability with the motherhood role, even in sort of the hard, messy, boring parts of it all. And it was a huge blessing, especially being an expat and trying to figure out how to integrate into the new life that I already had in so many ways. So having that confidence in the motherhood part was really, really helpful. But it didn't change the fact that there were still all these other layers of life of trying to understand, okay, I love being a mother. I love that role, but what does that mean for me in all these other aspects of my life? And what parts of who I was before I became a mother do I hold on to and protect, and what parts need to change or adapt and maybe be put aside to make room for a better participation in this role that I feel really drawn to and excited by. And I think particularly a lot of thought has gone into this whole sense of what does my role look like in sort of this participation in meaning questions and estuary and all the things that I've been building for the last couple years in having hard conversations with people about things that are really important to us. And, it's funny, I've been doing the whole YouTube public conversation thing for 4 or 5 years now, but these kind of conversations and exchanges have been a huge part of my life for the last decade. And I've been so surprised in the ways that it's changed me and helps me understand, just the ways that I need to grow and learn and change and how to think about truth and beauty and just what it is to live a meaningful life and how to be human. And I just am so grateful for how that has melded into my life and created, just built me up to be what I am now. But there's always that question of where does it go in the future? And I've been asked quite often, like, what is the purpose? Even asking myself, what is the purpose of what we're doing? And I've always had a bit of a trouble putting exact words to why I found this so meaningful. Like, I had personal reasons and certain things of like very practical things that I could point to that I found helpful, but like the overall sort of purpose and the way I approached it, why did I find it so helpful? I didn't really have the words to express it. It was just this instinct that there's something good about this. I have to keep going with it. And so I'm going to keep moving forward and participating in it as I try to figure out and understand what the words are for that. But I recently stumbled across a passage in a book that kind of opened up my eyes and I think gave me words to express what I think this whole thing has been moving towards and about. And I just want to read it because I think it'll be clear as I kind of lay out sort of how this has impacted me and where I think I might go with some of these things in the future. The book is Great Lent, Journey to Pascha by Alexander Shemin. And I've been reading this because the Orthodox Church has just finished their Lenten season. And my husband's godfather actually gave this book to my husband several years ago. But I decided to read it this Pascha season to really get a sense of what Lent is, how I should be participating with it, because it's something sort of foreign to me as a former Protestant. But anyways, at the end of the book, they have a whole chapter about life and Lent and sort of, how do you incorporate that thing that you learned in Lent outside of just the distinct Lenten period? Like, what should it do for your life and how should it change you? And the last two paragraphs struck me as so beautiful, but I think it also seemed to be so connected to what I think has been happening in sort of the estuary space and sort of the online space where we've been trying to talk to each other and have these conversations about big and small things. And so I'll just read it and then kind of share my thoughts about it before I get into more of the updates of what it's inspired me to do. Okay, here we go. So finally, as this is our last general remark, Lent is the time to control our speech. Our world is incredibly verbal, and we are constantly flooded by words which we have lost their meaning and therefore their power. Christianity reveals their meaning and therefore their power. Christianity reveals the sacredness of the word, a truly divine gift to man. For this reason, our speech is endowed with tremendous power, either positive or negative. For this reason, also, we shall be judged on our words. But I say unto you that every idle word that man shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. Matthew 12:36-37. To control speech is to recover its seriousness and its sacredness, to understand that sometimes an innocent joke, which we proffered without even thinking about it, can have disastrous results, can be the last straw which pushes a man into ultimate despair and destruction. But the word can also be a witness. A casual conversation across the desk with a colleague can be more for communicating a vision of life, an attitude towards other men or towards work, than formal preaching. It can sow the seeds of a question of the possibility of a different approach to life, the desire to know more. We have no idea how, in fact, we constantly influence one another by our words, by the very tonality of our personality. And ultimately, men are converted to God not because someone was able to give brilliant explanations, but because they saw him in that light, joy, depth, but because they saw in him that light, joy, depth, seriousness, and love, which alone reveals the presence and the power of God in the world. And thus, if Lent is, as we have said at the very beginning, the recovery of man of his faith, it is also his recovery of life, of its divine meaning, of its sacred depth. It is by abstaining from food that we rediscover its sweetness and learn again how to receive it from God, with joy and gratitude. It's by slowing down on music and entertainment, on conversation and superficial socializing that we rediscover the ultimate value of human relationships, human work, human art. And we discover all this because, very simply, we rediscover God himself. Because we return to him and in him to all that which he gave us in his infinite love and mercy. I'm just getting emotional reading it. But I think the first part just strikes me so heavily because I'm always questioning that sense of the power of words. I've always been a talker. I've lived talking to people, and I just can admit I sometimes talk too much. And so, trying to wrestle with that sense of having a space where you sit and you talk with others and you put yourself out there and share what you're thinking always has that potential of having you fill the void with noise of things that don't matter, words that are meaningless, words that are unkind, untrue, just things that shouldn't be said. There's always that temptation for that to be there. And yet in the same breath, there's also this realization that by allowing myself to have a space where I can publicly come and think and speak with others, it teaches me more how to be more intentional with what I say and how I engage with other people. And, as a general spirit, the online places where I've spent most of my time having these exchanges, and thankfully that extends into my personal life as well, have been that place that helps me take that responsibility of my words more seriously. So it's just so grateful to see how this space of being able to have these conversations, not just in closed rooms, in bars, but in a public spacing way where you can be challenged and engage with others, has been so helpful in teaching me the value of silence and not always having to give an opinion, even with that sort of that pitfall of it also feeding that thing. But I think the second part of that first paragraph struck me even more in this realization that the way in which we are having these conversations have been so revealing to me about what God is, what humanity is, and how to live life well. It is no secret I am no theologian, and I don't claim to have authority on any of the topics that I talk about. I really just try to make this more of a space where I have a place to wrestle honestly with the things I'm engaging with, what I'm thinking, and doing that with people who I think take it seriously as well, and who can challenge me and give me a space to think through those things in really charitable ways. And I just realized that through these really tiny, simple conversations, I've learned so much more about God and how I should live and the way that I want to live than probably any theology book I've ever read or any sort of smart, learned person has ever taught me. And yeah, I'm just so grateful. I'm just so grateful for what that taught me. And I hope to keep continuing in that spirit and holding on to that transformation power of these small conversations, teaching us so much more about life than the big ideas. So yeah, I just wanted to say that, like, I'm so thankful for everybody in the last 4 years plus the last decade, who've engaged with me. Thank you for being a part of that and teaching me and showing me, showing what life is. I just don't take that for granted. Yeah, but with all that said, it kind of still leaves the question of, oh, well, what do I do next? And the truth is I don't fully know, but I do have some action plans of what that means for the immediate future and how I'm going to take sort of that Lenten challenge on in what I'm doing here. I think particularly with this YouTube channel and sort of my releasing. So now the update part, which maybe is all you wanted to hear, but thank you for letting me ramble about my life a little bit to get to this point. But basically, all this leads up to say that at this point, I've decided that I will be stopping all production on any of the projects that I have done so far. So The Information Addict, Sprouting Artistry, this project are all going to be on hold until the end of the year. And I'm just going to take that time to be silent and to really focus on my family and my children and understanding what it's going to mean to live life with 2 new young beings in my house and under my responsibility. And hopefully give me that space to really take another look without distraction of the things that have grown in my garden and understand what I want to keep, what I think is bearing fruit, what that fruit looks like, and what needs to go in order to continue making space for the things that need to come with this new role in my life. I don't know exactly how long I'll be gone, but it'll be at least a month. And that'll give me some space to reevaluate and think through the rest of the year to see what comes back, if anything. from what I've done before. Now, that said, I do have some plans to come back later this year with something new and something a little more narrowed. And new might be a little bit of a stretch because for me, this has been something I've been working on for quite a long time. But it will be new for the channel and definitely a different direction than what I've done before. And yet, to me, it still feels like it's very much in the spirit of what I've been doing. And honestly, might be sort of, sort of the, how would you say it? Kind of the thing that all of this has been building up to and been practiced for. I can't get too much into what it is right now, but if you'd like to be updated and support me as I kind of pivot and close off the year, sort of weeding my life and weeding out the things that, and maybe weeding's not even sort of the right word. It's more finishing the tending and clearing the harvest from what has come before. Feel free to follow. I'll make updates here when I'm ready to kind of explain what I'll be doing and what's gonna happen. And I would actually love it if those of you who followed me, who've appreciated what I have done over the years, could help support me in this new endeavor, even if the endeavor itself is not something of interest. That support of, you caring for me as I move in to kind of settle an open door that needs to be closed and put away. I just appreciate it. And I think the way that so many of you have engaged with me on this journey will be really helpful as I move forward and engage in this sort of new season that will close off my 2025. So that's it. Thank you so much for letting me ramble. And I will see you again later this year.
Walking through the forgotten garden, seems like rain